we're joined by our 4 All-Americans, Rory Quiller, Kishore Armstrong, Eric Van Egan, and Jesse Garn. I'll give you everyone their athletic accomplishments before I get to the questions. Rory graduated in 2008. He won the pole vault national title in 2008 and was a 3-time All-American. Kishore Armstrong graduated in 2018. She was a 3-time All-American. Eric Van Ingen graduated in 2012. He was a 4-time All-American. And Jesse Garn, who is just having his power drink there, graduated in 2016. And he also was a 3-time All-American. And everybody, thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate having you. Okay, let's start with, we'll start with Rory. Rory, what are you up to nowadays? Why don't you tell everybody what you're doing?
I am trying to raise 2 kids at this point. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old, and so as of the past couple months here, I've been the one staying at home while my wife's a physician's assistant working in an ER. So keeping me real busy with the kids, and profession-wise, I've been at the Naval Academy now for 8 years, and I'm coaching pole vault there. So making the rounds, getting to see Binghamton at meets here and there, and just following my passion. So really enjoying it down here.
Great. Kishore, you graduated 2018. What have you been doing since then?
Yeah, I'm on the other end of that. So I'm currently trying to figure out how to teach 3-year-olds remotely. I started teaching 2 years ago through Teach for America in Brooklyn. I also reside in Brooklyn now, so that's what I'm doing professionally. Other than that, I'm trying to stay active, emphasis on trying. But passion-wise, I guess I've picked up painting, which has been really fun. I have one of my paintings right here. You can see it. Yeah.
How long did that
yeah, but that's about it.
How long did that take you to finish?
Oh, like a month.
Eric, how about you? What have you been up to?
I live in Brooklyn, work in a whole bunch of different things, video production, licensing, music production, audio engineering, publishing as well. So that's how I spend my time professionally.
Looks like you got a whole studio back there in Backy there with everything.
You gotta have the tools. You gotta have the tools to do the job. So.
And Jesse, you're up in the Syracuse area. What have you been up to nowadays?
So since graduating in 2016, I've actually been in Westchester County, and I've continued training as a part of the HOKA New Jersey, New York track club. Aside from that, I'm actually starting physical therapy school in June at Upstate Medical University. So sticking with the SUNY system, and pretty excited to be furthering myself academically and making a career change and down the road.
Well, there's 3 of you who are from the New York, Westchester area. So for Eric, Kishore, Jesse, what's it been like for you guys this past 6 or 7 weeks? Any one of you can speak out.
It's been interesting navigating this landscape. The one common theme is that this is, despite the world having gone through pandemics, each one is a relative unknown. So it's just been a matter of balancing yourself and informing yourself and taking the CDC and World Health Organization precautions, not only to protect yourself, but for the sake of local and larger communities. That way the death rates can be mitigated, and the economic fallout isn't as bad as what it could potentially be. So it's just informing yourself and trying to stay in good spirits and healthy.
You sure, Jesse, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, okay, do you want to go?
Go ahead.
Okay, I think on trying to stay positive, it's been kind of nice to slow down. I think I got into a habit of just being on the go all the time, and I kind of forgot to do things for myself. So it's been nice having some time to really focus on self-care, and like I said, doing passion projects, and doing a better job at communicating with family and friends, checking in more often. It is difficult, definitely not, I mean, having the restrictions as to not being able to go outside as much, but we've had to get creative with the way that we communicate and the way that we enjoy our, I guess, daily activities and things that we just generally forgot, or even perhaps just we knew we liked to do, but we weren't doing because of like work restrictions.
Mhm.
And so I guess trying to stay positive, it's been kind of helpful to slow down in the sense, but definitely still can't wait to go outside, and prayers for all families and friends who are going through this and may not have the chance to do all the things that they want to do because it's been really difficult.
Jesse, do you want to answer now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Eric and Kishore are, you know, they're more exposed to the whole situation being in the New York City area. Even though I'm in New York, I'm a lot further upstate, and it's I guess a little more mild here. But to touch on what Kishore said, it has been nice, almost an eye-opening experience to kind of dial back and figure out my priorities and figure out exactly what I want to be doing moving forward and everything. So it's been tough. It's been tough to stay motivated with training and everything. A lot of facilities are kind of off limits right now, and the weather isn't great. So I try and get out to the park or the track as often as I can. I have a bandana around my neck when I'm running, and if I pass people, I kind of put it over my face. It's tough to run with a bandana over your face the whole time. So, but yeah, I mean, I just encourage people to take this more seriously because, I was talking with Eric a little bit about it recently, and some people have masks, some people don't have masks, and I think that I think we just need to abide by the precautions and try and be as safe as you can.
Well, let's go back to memory lane and to the past here. Let's start with our Rory. What were some of the most memorable performances or meets that you had at Binghamton?
So I asked my wife what I remembered best, because that's what you do when you're married. And she, of course, was like, "Oh, you got to, mention winning nationals." And I remember that obviously, and that's a fond memory. But I think the more formative and really from an educational standpoint, the thing that the milestones for me, I kind of went back to my freshman year, and I would say indoor IC4A is the first time I jumped 16 feet. I jumped 16 feet 3/4 of an inch, and I got sixth. And I was probably one of the lowest guys qualified. I was tied for the lowest guy qualified for that meet. And I remember talking to Coach Thompson after that meet and going like, man, I probably should listen to you more. Because he was talking about, getting my hands up in a couple different technical aspects of the takeoff. And I was, young and still thinking, hey, I know better, and I know I need to get upside down and more of the glamorous aspects of the pole vault that, when you don't know any better, you think that's what you should be focusing on. And as soon as I just bought into what he was saying, it started clicking, and that's where, the PR went up a foot just in outdoors. And then I'd say the other big formative moment was regionals my freshman year. And again, I jumped 5 meters back then. That was a qualifying height. And it was just you hit a qualifying height. It's a little different. These young guys don't know how tough it was back in the, it was a little easier. It was a standard. You hit the standard, and they'd take 100 people to, it was 4 regions back then. And so I hit the minimum standard. So again, I was going in as the lowest guy, and they would take 5 from each region. And I went there, and after the first couple heights realized I'm embarrassing myself. Like, this is, I don't know what I'm doing. This is, just, my father was there. I'm like, I'm embarrassing the Quiller family name in track and field. Like, it was harsh. And again, listening to Thompson and I think I took a pretty big step forward in that meet, and I PR'd twice there and ended up jumping just a little bit, a centimeter under 17 feet, and ended up sixth. And I think that was kind of an eye-opening moment where, again, I kind of took a step forward to where I think Coach Thompson saw where I should be the whole time, and maybe I didn't quite believe it. And then at that point, I think that's when I started kind of buying in a little bit more. And it was perfect timing. That's what I try to tell my athletes is, it really, really helps to qualify for, I don't want to take Jesse's gusto here, but it helps to qualify for those big meets and get that gut check out of the way. And then you take just a huge step forward the next time out. And I'll be honest, I remember, again, Jesse, I'm going to step all over your stories. I remember Jesse, what happened when Jesse made indoors that first time. I remember where I was because, they didn't televise it live and you were checking updates. And I had one of my athletes in the back of a van. I was out in San Diego, and I had one of our 800 runners check in, just updating. And, we heard the news and I was like, oh, man, no way. And I knew at the time, like, well, you're going to find out about this kid, man. I barely know the guy. I heckle him every time I see him at regional meets. He has no idea who I am. And I'd yell at him from moving vans and stuff. But I was cheering for him. And I remember that, and that type of, formative educational moment is, I think just encapsulates why we do, track and field or athletics just in general in higher education. I think it really is a formative moment. And I think that people get those moments not just, at the level that we were at, but at levels, whether it's the competitiveness at conference or the competitiveness at a dual meet at Cornell or in high school or whatever. And those opportunities that you have to compete and test yourself and kind of prove yourself. And so those stories to me, kind of those early years, it was a different aspect of my pole vault career because I was still kind of in that proving and that a lot of doubt, phase of my athletic career where I didn't really believe quite yet. And so I think those two, the indoor IC4A meet and then the regional meet, learned to listen to my coach, learned to start having some confidence in myself.
Great, thanks. Eric, we'll switch to you. A lot of memorable meets for you since you got to Binghamton. What stands out for you as the most memorable meets of your career?
The most memorable meets certainly involve not the races themselves, but the downtime in between.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say any specifics because, I don't need to implicate anybody. But if we're going with strictly performances on the oval, I would say the New Balance indoor, or no, what was it? The New Balance Collegiate Invite in 2009. My first year or so, year and a half at Binghamton, I found a lot of steady progress and growth in training and at meets, but definitely hadn't quite hit, the point that I was aspiring towards. But found that we got lucky in getting into a fast section of a really competitive mile.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going into that, my personal best was about 4:07 from the prior outdoor season, taking 1,500 conversions into consideration. And pretty much just got really lucky and had a good day and worked my way up in the back of the pack and ended up running 4:02 and finishing just off the shoulder of the eventual Olympic champion in the 1,500. And that felt kind of like when my college career started, because there's this long period for me between kind of how my development took place in high school through that transition into college, where my expectations weren't particularly managed through my own fault, and this performance definitely justified kind of my aspirations, and it let me know that I belong in this space and that I've kind of arrived, and now I can really start focusing on that day-to-day grind and building up for whatever the end result is. The end result was never particularly the most important. It was always process oriented, but that definitely allowed me to feel confident and be able to just really work and grow and become the athlete that I eventually came to be.
Great. Well, Jesse, Roy may have answered some of your question, but what were the races that stood out for you?
So Rory made a really good point that a lot of the maybe embarrassing or, your bad days actually have some of the biggest impact on you. So certainly, getting disqualified at indoor nationals in 2015, that was, pretty brutal for my confidence. But I came out that outdoor season, like you said, like I was going to be out for, out for blood, so to speak, but very excited and motivated coming off of that. And, I had my best NCAA finish with 4th place in the 800 that outdoor season. And going back to my junior season, it was actually my redshirt outdoor, and it was the first time I qualified for the U.S. Championship. So I went out with Coach Acuff, was in the preliminary heat of the 800, and I was so nervous. The gun went off, and I was basically still standing there while everyone else was, dashing off. And just to echo again what Rory said, it's good to have, kind of get tossed into those big meets early on. You can really learn a lot from that, so you're more prepared moving forward. And I think that having that experience made my 4th year and 5th year, making the NCAA championships 3 times. I think that a lot of it had to do with being able to go to those bigger meets and have that experience early on. But I'd say probably the most positive experience was actually in cross country, winning the conference title in
14.
Fall of 2014. Yes. It's been a while, but that race was very exciting. It was up in Maine, and it was just kind of a testament to our team that year. We were big into the pack running, and we finished 8, 9, 10, 11. I think Andrew Roach was 21st or 22nd and locked it up, and we won by just a few points there. But, I wouldn't say that my career as a runner would ever be defined by cross country, but I think that was probably a highlight for distance running for me, was my performance that day, and really, putting my nose in it and being all conference in cross country. That was actually a very special memory for me. And to come away with the team title too was awesome.
Great. How about you, Kishora?
Yeah, I think for me, most of my most memorable moments happened off the track. There were a few that I would say are probably the most memorable because on the track, because you got more than a good job from Coach Thompson. Sometimes you'd get a little smile. Sometimes you'd even get a hug. That one I really had to work for. But I guess namingly when I anchored the winning 4x1 at conferences. I'm not entirely certain what year. We were a little bit behind, and I just really wanted it so bad. And I really pushed myself beyond what I knew I could do just for the team, and we're able to pull that one out. And I think that was the first time I really got really excited. Like, I think he even left the ground. I think there was a jump off the ground from Coach Thompson. And I think that's probably one of my most memorable moments. It's always the unexpected moments for me, like the year that I qualified for indoor nationals for the first time, and I did that by staying behind by myself with one other teammate to compete at the last chance meet in Boston.
You there?
It was beginning, but sometimes somehow managed to qualify, and unexpectedness of that made it just so much better. But like the most memorable moments for me were like off the track, like squeezing Coach Thompson's hand to death on that flight to Oregon because I hate flying, trying duck bacon for the first time in Oregon. Yeah, it's the small things for me that just really made the journey so much fun.
Kishore, how meaningful was it to be the first Binghamton women to qualify for nationals and represent the program?
When I found out that I was the first, it really hit me, and I was like, oh, wow, it's really an honor, and I wanted to do my best to try to live up to the expectations of that. Before knowing that, I'm kind of happy I didn't, because I feel like I would probably put a lot more pressure on myself, and that may have altered my experience. But I think once I knew, I was just happy to at least put us on the map in that way for people to realize that, because I think sometimes, the female athlete sports kind of go unnoticed in comparison. But I think Binghamton did a great job at always making us feel valued. And so I think, especially following that news, I really felt the immense love and support from people I didn't even know. And so it was just amazing to see the community kind of come together just from that. And I'm happy to have been able to be in that, the reason that happened.
Great. Well, all four of you, one big thing about the track and field and cross-country programs is the same coaches have been there for all of your careers, Mike Thompson and Ed Acuff. So the next question will be for each one of you, how meaningful Mike Thompson has been to obviously Rory and Kishore, and Ed Acuff to Eric and Jesse. So Rory, we'll start with you. What has Mike Thompson meant to your career?
I mean, that guy is a jerk. No. He, more than teaching me anything about track, he taught me more about golf than probably anything else. But I'm getting a new appreciation as, track coach for, going on a decade here. A lot of time athletes don't show their appreciation or the impact that you have to their coach a lot. And this isn't like an indictment of my athletes by any means. They end up seeing this, but Thompson did a great job of, not just kind of, making, showing me the way or opening doors, gave me a lot of opportunities, which I really appreciate. But I would say even kind of beyond that, he instilled in me a sense that I was, I would receive the accolades if I did something well. He shouldered a lot of the burden if I did something poorly. So I'd have meets where I had no height, and that's going to happen, and Thompson did a really good job of kind of psychologically, and it's not like the guy's a evil genius mastermind, brain puppet, or whatever, like trying to puppeteer me through life or anything. But what he did really well was he didn't allow me to internalize failure or negativity. And I can remember my freshman year. So I really like to give credit to people that came before, the Monique Hackers, the Brian Hamiltons, the Judire Osborns. These guys are Hall of Famers in our Hall of Fame. I went to 2 of those Hall of Fame inductions back when I was an undergrad. And I kind of looked at them and tried to take pieces of, okay, what's making them successful, whatever, try to be a student of people that have come before. And I remember talking to Coach Thompson, and I said, man, Brian Hamilton, that guy is a stud. Got to be the best athlete you've ever had. And he said something to the effect of like, yeah, he's the second best athlete we've ever had at Binghamton. I'm realizing now as I say this probably sounds very braggadocious. However, he goes, hey, yeah, he was the second best athlete we had here. And I was like, oh, thinking, okay, well, who's the first? And he was like, well, I think you're going to be the first. And in my mind, as a teenager, I kind of go, okay, play it cool, pretend like I knew that, but really I'm going like, this guy thinks I'm going to be like as good as Brian was. Like I just saw that guy was an amazing athlete, national champ. And now meanwhile, he probably went back and told half the other team, half the rest of the team the same thing later. And we all know, Monique Hackers probably the best athlete that's ever walked, across Binghamton. So, but at the end of the day, like he had a way of instilling that confidence that was, just fit perfectly for my psychology and what I needed at given times. I sat down with him in a goal setting session my freshman year, and he said, hey, how high do you think you can jump this year? And I said 16 feet. I jumped 15.1 in high school. I said, I think I can jump 16 feet. And he said, okay, that's a good goal. I think you can jump 18 feet your freshman year. And I remember, again, just trying to play it cool, thinking like, this guy's out of his mind. I don't know how. And I appreciate that now, especially as a coach, looking at athletes and knowing like, man, you haven't even scratched the surface yet. And hoping that, in seeing that, I remember seeing Eric run a mile indoors. We had a home meet against Albany, and he had just come, I think he is unattached because he's transferring Canisius, right?
Yes.
And I think he was unattached. And I remember watching, he probably ran like a 4:15 or something like that. So by his standards, it probably wasn't a blazing fast mile, but he put the screws to everybody in that race, ran it by himself. Just took the bull by the horns. And you looked at him, this is probably bad to say, but like in my mind, I was like, God, that guy looks like Prefontaine. Like just kind of this stubby kid that is just going after it. And that
it was the hair at the time too.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And the locks.
Way better skier though. but I just remember seeing that type of confidence in a guy that's just starting his athletic career. And I don't think I had that. And so I give Thompson a lot of credit for instilling that in me. And then also just not putting extra pressure on me. I mean, he used to always say, hey man, if you have a bad practice, I'll still be able to find golf clubs on eBay. Like, you don't got to worry about it. He's not going to lose sleep if I'm not doing well. And the catch, of it really was, I think he did stress out about how I was doing. When I third attempted, at nationals to win, I think he was way more stressed out than I was. But I think that's kind of a testament to the fact that that didn't ooze out and permeate into my mental game. He did a really good job of compartmentalizing that, keeping it away from me, and just letting me go and perform. And so, yeah, I mean, I can't thank him enough and really overstate how big of an impact he had on my athletic career and just in life. And I keep in touch with him. I see him every year as a coach and pick his brain professionally about what I'm doing and how I can coach somebody better. And so I think, his impact on me is right up there, maybe second to my parents. The impact he's had on me.
Great. We'll switch to Eric, and Annette Acuff was your primary coach. Talk about the impact she's had on your career at Binghamton.
I think the thesis of the whole thing is balance. That's what she was able to provide for me. One of my beliefs with the coach-athlete relationship is that it's a partnership. It's not like a employee-employer. There shouldn't be like a power dynamic. And that's confusing for a lot of athletes coming to college because you're coming from a space as a minor, you're literally told what to do, you're provided structure. So that's an adjustment. And also considering where I was as an athlete and where she was as a coach, I think both of us realized that individually what we had accomplished didn't meet our potential at that point. So we were pretty much just figuring it out, but it wasn't trying. Trying is when you don't know. This is when you do know, but there's less of a certainty. So we're basically just figuring it out. And I know if I wanted to do things my way, I wouldn't have had the success that I had. And if she wanted to do things her way, I don't know as if I would have had as much success, just because, you come in as a freshman to a new program and a new coach. They have limited data about who you are in your head and then physiologically. So just taking all those things into consideration and finding a balance and working together, that was one of the best things that I could have had as an athlete, and that extended itself well beyond the track. So I think that was the strong point for our relationship at Binghamton.
Great. Jesse, you also had Annette Acuff. Talk about what she did for your career.
I really like how Eric just addressed that it's more of a partnership than a power struggle kind of thing with the coach athlete dynamic. I would say the biggest thing about Coach Acuff was her support and her belief in me very early on, even coming in as a freshman. Eric paved the way for the distance program by already having been several time All-American. Eric was in his 5th year when I was a freshman, and right away she was she was like, you're gonna do the 5 years. Like, I really see it panning out for you really well. And at the time we thought I was going to be more of a successful miler, and then we found out that the 800 was more of my primary event. But Coach Acuff did a very good job of, she would stick her neck out for you, always support you and try and get you into hierarchy heats or better races. I remember my junior year, she had been emailing the coordinator for the Millrose, the Wanamaker Mile, all year, saying, I got this guy. He has only run, at the time, I think I had only run maybe maybe the equivalent of like a 404, 405 mile. She kept saying, you know, we're semi-local, couple hour drive, like just keep us in the back of your mind. And sure enough, like a week before the Millrose games my junior year, one of the guys scratched from the race and I found out. And that was huge to have the opportunity to compete in the Wanamaker Mile. It's extremely prestigious. I know Eric's competed in it, you know, at least once, maybe several times. Very difficult, and especially right now, having competed at the professional level, the caliber of that race now is almost unparalleled. Very difficult to get into. So I was very fortunate to have that opportunity when I did, and I wouldn't have if, you know, Coach Acuff, you know, didn't promote me and truly believe that, you know, I could compete with some of those best guys, and I belonged there.
Sure, you and Coach Thompson, what did he mean for your career? And I assume you don't think he was a jerk like Rory did.
Right. Actually, no, I agree. No, I second just about everything that everyone has said. I think both coaches did a very great job at making us feel appreciated on and off the track and being very flexible. I know, especially for Coach Thompson, I will never could never thank him enough for just taking the chances that he did on me, because coming in, I don't know if most people know that I was recruited as a high jumper, and that's the only event that I ended up not really doing. And most coaches probably would have been really frustrated with the fact that I just stopped taking off and just quit on me, because they may have seen me as being one-dimensional. But Coach Thompson really took that opportunity to build my skills in other areas. And had it not been for him taking that chance on me in sprinting and then eventually with long and triple jump, I never would have even known that I could have been a long jumper, much less to a long jumper that would have competed at the national level. So for me, I think it was just, I will always appreciate how much he was always in my corner and how much he pushed me to see my potential in ways that I didn't see potential in myself. And also that he used to sneak me chicken wings after meets, because I hated pizza and I was lactose intolerant. So it was just like in every aspect, he was always looking out for my well-being, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Great. Well, the final question before I do, I am a stat person, and from 2003 to 2018, at least one of you was a member of the Binghamton program, and sometimes there were two of you, and really one of the most special moments was 2015 when Jesse and Kishore went to nationals together. But this is a question that any one of you could answer. Just looking back at the Binghamton program, what do you see as the best qualities of the overall track and field program at Binghamton University? And any of you can speak up and answer this.
I would say almost like a candid humility. It differs a lot from your programs with a lot of tradition and history. Binghamton it's a relatively young school, and it's relatively young on the Division I level, and with that, just kind of you get a different breed of person. You get a different culture. I think it's a lot more honest. It's a lot more just authentic. You get a lot of people that aren't as caught up in the status of tradition or expectation, and you're able to move in a space that's a lot more true to yourself and true to why you're there in the first place. I think that's always been kind of to me an appeal to Binghamton, and one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about it is that it was just like Binghamton kept it a hundo.
Anyone
I
else?
don't know what that means.
That's all right. You're a dad now. You're a dad now. It's just.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also just the whole mission behind student athlete and in that order, I think Binghamton did a great job at keeping the balance of being art and just being mindful that as Division I athletes, we also have a lot of responsibility off the track as students. And I think the coaches did a great job at making sure that they organize practice around your schedule and that you're really getting the support you needed off the track, and also just with care in the weight room with Lori, and also with the entire medical staff. Like, everyone was working together around your schedule to ensure that you were able to thrive both on and off the track. And so I'm very grateful that that was the school that I was able to have my career at as a student and as an athlete.
Jesse?
I love that point. I love that point that Kishore just made. Kind of touches on just the whole intimacy of Binghamton athletics, noting that the coaches work with us and sports medicine and strength and conditioning, just how everyone kind of plays their part. And I thought that all staff members, everyone is very approachable, and the team itself was, very intimate. Everyone was friends with each other. There wasn't this, separation or, I didn't think that there were many big heads on the team, so to speak. It was fun to get along with everyone. Maybe I had a big head at some point. Sorry, I lost my track of thought there.
No, you don't have a big head.
Yeah, you had a big head.
just an overall, like, very, very fun program, and everyone was approachable and kind. It was just a really great experience overall.
And just to add on, like, kind of from a different angle here, I think what I really liked, and this isn't just, across the board, but there's definitely individuals there that you saw that were very, very hungry. Maybe they didn't get the scholarship package at some other school or whatever it was. One guy that I definitely want to shout out, and hopefully this lives on in YouTube forever, but Chris Gobby. That guy was a game changer for my money, probably had the most profound impact on the program just going forward. Phenomenal athlete as well, but the kid was hungry. I mean, he came in and just wanted to prove something, wanted to win, and at whatever level. Again, I'll kind of go back to the fact that we're lucky to be sitting here as All-Americans and being on this call. But at the end of the day, the higher education aspect is such that Binghamton's giving an opportunity to a lot of people to compete at a Division I level now, but even back in the Division III and Division II days, giving them a forum in which to test themselves and prove themselves. And really, the results are inconsequential. I mean, it's fun to win, but just like Jesse was kind of saying earlier, you learn just as much, if not more, from losing. But I would say that I can think a handful of guys that Hassani Hampton being one, that just did not want to lose and did not want to, and took pride in Binghamton being on their chest. I took pride going to nationals, knowing my scholarship package versus a lot of those other guys standing out there on the track and going, hey, I'll show you what's up here. And I enjoy probably the only person that ever went to Binghamton that enjoys when somebody says Binghamton, because I'm like, oh, you don't know, you're about to know, and watching Jesse, watching Eric, just I've given Eric his credit, I've given Jesse Kishore at Penn relays, jumping, I think it was wind aided, but like 640, 645. And yeah, you believe that there was people that turned their heads, were like, what? That's ridiculous. That's as far as I long jumped. And I long jumped for a couple of years. I mean, that's outstanding. That's amazing on a big stage. She was hungry, so I think that's really one characteristic that you see with, maybe not everybody, but a lot of the athletes there is a desire to prove themselves. So I was attracted to that aspect.
Roy, that's a great point. I guess I'll ask Kishore, Eric, and Jesse. Are there any other teammates that you recall really inspired you when you were at Binghamton?
Yeah, our entire team. I think I remember the day that I watched John Elkins break the American East record in the 200 indoor. That was probably one of my all-time favorite moments to have witnessed as as an athlete, as a teammate to him. And it was very inspiring because he is definitely the definition of hungry also. He worked hard on and off the track. And so to see it pay off, and I just about ran him over that day, I remember, because as soon as he got off, I didn't even care if he couldn't breathe. As soon as he got off the track, I was like full speed ahead running at him, because it was just incredible to see how as a leader he always preached to work hard, and it paid off. And I think that just really got everyone, that set the stage, that really set a fire for everyone at that meet, and everyone was really following that, just going as hard as they possibly could. So I would say, as much as my entire team inspired me in some way, that day I think John Alkins definitely was, I guess, the example of working hard and seeing it pay off.
Jesse, Eric, anybody you guys can think of?
Would say any instance of Kazal Arnett just eating people up on the 4x4 anchor, like coming from like 20 meters down, and just that was fun to watch. That was really fun to watch.
How about you, Jesse?
I mean, I think that, Eric himself kind of set the tone for middle distance running at Binghamton, and it gave me a lot of, I was fortunate to have 1 year to share with Eric when he was a fifth year, and I got to watch him compete at, regionals, and seeing him, advance to the finals so comfortably, make the NCAA championships. And I think I learned a lot from that, just being exposed to, Eric has competed a lot of high caliber things. Eric had a lot of school records, so it certainly it gave me a lot of things to strive for. And like I said, kind of set the tone for my own goals as well, things to chase.
Really, thank you everybody for your time. We appreciate everything, and all the best to all of you. And obviously we'll get through this, but we know you're following the program, and really thank you for everything you've done for the Binghamton program.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
For what you do, David.